Hello, peoples. This is gonna be what if Deku met Uraraka early. And real quick, let's get the disclaimers and shit out of the way. Simple, nice and short. I will not be uploading any other types of what ifs to this channel or anything, basically, for the most part. So for the My Hero peoples, this is good, but also for the other people that do and don't want other what ifs, this will be in my Naruto Boss DK Naruto what ifs and Dragon Ball what's that shit called, bro? Dragon Ball Z Boss DK of Dragon Ball Z what ifs. And I also do have a gaming channel, same name, just of gaming. So if y'all got any suggestions or whatever, feel free to leave it here. And I will most likely, take those suggestions and put them to the other channels. So hopefully, y'all like that. But let's get into this what if. All right. So I was debating on like how I was gonna, do it, like when will they meet, but I want it to be early enough to where it makes a difference. And since we don't know Deku's, situation, if he's rich or poor, we're just gonna say it happens when they're like kids. The reason I'm gonna do it as a kid is because I feel like this would have a very big impact on the story. So let's just say they're gonna be the typical, shonen kind of like stereotype where they're gonna be childhood friends in this version. And you might not think this would have, really big merits, but it actually does. So this is how it would work, right? It would work in such a way where they would grow up and they would, talk very often, but they won't go to the same schools. This is gonna work because of the interactions they have. Deku's gonna be crying one day, 4 years old, or maybe 5, it doesn't really matter. And he's gonna talk about how Kachan's bullying him and this type of stuff, and he's gonna find out that he's quirkless. Uraraka's gonna see this, and being how she is in the story and stuff, is she's gonna be like, "What's wrong, Deku?" Or she might, Deku, or I guess Midoriya. I don't know what you would call him yet. But she's like, Kachan's bullying me. He keeps saying Deku and I'm worthless and I'd never be a hero. And she's like, what's wrong with Deku? And basically the whole interaction they had in canon would pretty much be like the same thing that would happen here. It would just happen a lot earlier. She's like, but Deku can mean whatever, it meant. Like it means something, big body and shit, right? So with that being said, Deku's like, hear her say this and be like, "Oh right," and then Uraraka's like, "You don't need a fancy." Like I feel like she would really try to pep talk him, right? Even though she doesn't believe it. She's like, "But Deku, you don't need a fancy quirk, cause like I see you always looking at other people's quirks and you do that weird mumbling thing. And what if you became a hero without a quirk?" Now, Uraraka saying this, instead of Deku being a little bitch like it was in canon, we're going to have it to where, your boy Deku actually, takes this and runs with it, right? And he's like, oh, wait a minute, she's got a point. So Deku decides to spend, a good chunk of his time, training and doing push-ups, sit-ups, and drinking plenty of juice, all varieties. So, with that being said, Deku is actually, slowly but for surely becoming a lot more stronger. And with this being said, he eventually would get to the point where he's going to stand up to Bakugo because he's like, all right, no. And with Uraraka around and them always interacting and always talking, and one, Deku's not going to be as flustered, as, uncomfortable when it comes to talking to females in general. Okay, and 2, with Deku training, he's gonna train with Uraraka. And the reason I say this would be the case, right, is because as they're growing up, Deku's doing, push-ups, and he's, doing martial arts, and he's like basically doing a lot of stuff that's accessible instead of just crying in his book. That to this day, that never made sense to me, like in canon, when you literally could train your body, because like even people with physical quirks or Aizawas, like with all these heroes, on top of the fact that you look up to a whole bunch of heroes and you study them, it never registered for you to do physical training. And even a lot of like the big YouTubers and stuff that does these always like forget physicality. But enough with me going on my rant. So Deku does this, and him and Uraraka train. With them training, this will have some differences in later, because Uraraka doesn't really use her quirk nearly as effective, because she literally has like a one-shot kill quirk. Like, she could be real devious with it, even if she doesn't kill her opponent per se. Like, she could be devious with it, okay? So they're training, and I'd say they'd be like training and, around like the 10 age mark, right? And they're, getting pretty, more accustomed to it. Oh, I thought my drink fell. They're getting more and more accustomed to like training and focusing on things. Uraraka would focus like kind of like more on a grappler kind of like like style, give or take. And Deku would focus more on, originally he was going to focus on punches, but then Uraraka would make a statement like, Deku, how come you're only using punches? Why don't you use your legs and stuff? I think I remember reading something in a magazine once that was saying like your legs are like 3 times stronger than your arms, or something to that effect. So this thus causes Deku to invent shoot style without it being, one for all. And so with that being said, Deku's, practicing his kicks and, his forms like that. He also tells Uraraka the same thing. Like, hey, instead of just focusing on grapples just because you're quirk, what if you learn how to use your legs too? Because if people know, like, once you become a pro hero, if people know, you got like a quirk, they gonna know what you do. So they gonna be like trying to avoid your hands. And Uraraka thinks about this too. So they basically have like a good, training session for a good little minute. Like they doing, they not training like that yet, all right? But they doing actual training for a good little minute, right? And their hands become excellent. Their teamwork becomes even better. Uraraka, uses her quirk to make herself lighter, so she's able to perform, different moves. Also, Deku also focuses on like, stretching and make sure his legs, are able to do things. He basically making sure his flexibility is like at like peak performance, due to the simple fact of, since he's gonna be, morally, basically relying more on his body than anything else, he needs to make sure he can throw hands, right? And so that's gonna happen. And Uraraka, on the other hand, is making sure that since Deku's there, they're going to basically help strengthen her quirk weakness, okay? Because of the simple fact is she vomits, there's going to be like little tricks and stuff they like try to come up with, like to basically prevent her from like vomiting everywhere. And they're going to help her control that. And she's going to slowly... She can't do it, but they both think with the, them putting their brains together, and Deku being, the quirk excessive individual that he is, and since it was always gonna be like this due to what the creator is saying, Deku would think, hey, Uraraka, would it be possible that you could do this without touching your hands together? And Uraraka would be like, wait, what do you mean? It'd be like, okay, think about it. And then he starts rambling, but short and simple of it is, we're going to say that potentially Uraraka's quirk, gravity and stuff is not inherently just because of her hands, right? Her hands is a template, or it's like let's say if she had electricity only on the tip of her fingertips, right? She doesn't inherently have electricity on her fingertips. She's just able to conduct it there. So in this theory, right, what if she's able to do that without her, with her whole body, right? So this is basically making it to where she's able to fly and having, a whole bunch of other types of abilities, but the range would probably be, limited. This is what we would probably say a quirk awakening, without saying a quirk awakening, but due to, them training at an early age, and both of them, trying to get better, because Deku's focusing more on his physicality, and since Uraraka quirk revolves around her being close to someone, she kind of needs to work on that too. So this is how they bond and basically become even better friends, okay? Now, with that out of the way, we're not going to skip too far ahead because I don't know if I should give him one for all, because I'm thinking with the way Deku's been set up though so far, I don't think he would want to get one for all. But y'all can, put your comments down and give me some feedback, and let's go on to see what happens a little bit further. So now we could say about a year or so passes, and we got Deku, maybe, both, they're around the same age, I think. So, they're around 11 years, some more years pass, and simply put, they're doing even more training. It's really just a training montage for the most part. So nothing, big body happens. They just keep, stretching and keep working on their team combos and different things like that. But they do realize something. They're going to need, weapons. Because Deku's definitely gonna need some type of weapon due to the fact that people literally can shoot explosions out of their, face and all sorts of stuff like that. So what Deku decides to do is him and Uraraka, one, help out Uraraka with, the work at, their people's house. I mean, Uraraka's parents and stuff help them out with that. And since Deku is insanely strong in this one, not like All Might level or like, godhood level or anything like that, but he's a lot stronger than the average Joe, especially people for his age, right? He's gonna get to the point where he's like, all right, he's helping out fairly easy. It's almost like he's that one chick from Attack on Titan, Mikasa, and I think that's how you say her name. So after he helps out, they go try to find a weapon. And they go to this like shop. They go to all these different shops, but the prices are too high. So they're just going out, spending basically most of the day looking around like what the fuck we're gonna do. And then they eventually like find this one, weird shop that's actually about to, be out of business or whatever. They walk up in there, and then people, a lot of people are talking about like, don't go in there. The shop will try to kill you, and it's haunted. It's just a whole bunch of other, weird stuff, right? So Deku and Uraraka, they walk up in this bitch like, hey, we in this bitch, right? And then the second they walk in, both of them, like, you know how Uraraka has that gun martial arts mode or whatever? She kind of does that. But instead of doing that, she like does it briefly, but she like fixes the gravity like within like a small radius. And when she does that, Deku immediately lunges off and like springs kind of around like almost like Gran Torino almost, but like not on his level per se. And then he immediately like punches the person that like he presumes that did that, while Uraraka gets out of the way, and all they hear is clapping, right? And some like old dude comes out, you know how they do in the martial arts movies and shit. Old dude come out there like, I see. Real niggas have appeared here. Who obviously wouldn't say that, but we gotta add the DK-ness to this video. And he's like, real niggas have appeared. Everyone else gets scared. Even though I lowered it and it wouldn't have actually made full contact, but it's actually good someone actually passed the test. And Deku and Uraraka, relax their guard, but they're still on guard. Like, what the fuck just happened? So the old dude comes out and be like, he turns on all the lights basically. He's like, welcome. I have many different weapons, and I'm not gonna say he's Chinese. I'll just say he's Chinese and Japanese. Goddamn it, just to get both the burst worlds, because I don't want to say something that's one thing or another thing. Anyways, so he's like, yeah, it's been a long time since I've actually been able to train someone. My life is gonna pass pretty soon. I've lived for, let's just say he has a quirk that allows him to live longer. He's just one of those OG quirkless niggas. It don't even matter, all right? He's like, I've lived for about 200 years. I've only had a few students that come to this shop. So, I presume you're looking for weapons. Let me guess. The weapons are too expensive? Too much for you? Budget's low? Yeah. When I made this shop back in however many years ago, I made it with the mind frame of people like you. Now, let me see. You're quirkless, and you got a quirk that has to do with gravity. Both of your bodies seem well trained, but it seems to be lacking. Come to the back of my shop. Uraraka and Deku nod at each other, walk to the back of the shop. And you would see a whole bunch of different, martial art related items. This is where I've trained any pupils that I've had briefly. So, let me ask you, are you ready to be trained? And Uraraka and Deku are actually puzzled, like, wait, what? We don't have any money or any, he said, who said I'm charging you? But don't worry, after the training's done, y'all both will get weapons of your desire. And that's where we're going to leave this video off. If you made it this far, thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate you. Love yous. Also, don't forget to check out my other channels. Also, my Twitch is BossDK23. The link will be down in the description. It's a one link, send you everywhere you need to go. Catch y'all niggas later if you want to see that footage live. Yeah.